Muffins. In this video, we're going to go over how to do 1 and 2 step equations. And so the lesson for today should be very reviewy of what we've done before when you were in 7th grade, whether it was Math 7 or Math 7 Honors. So you're going to fill out the back of the warm-up today with your notes, so make sure you have them filled in, and then you want to put them in your binder at the end of class. Okay, so a couple of things. The first thing is we're going to use, whenever we're solving equations, we're going to use the inverse operation. So we want to make sure that we go, if it's adding, the inverse would be subtracting, multiplying, the inverse would be dividing, etc. Okay, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to undo the order of operations. So we're trying to kind of work backwards to get to an answer. When there are 2 steps in an equation, like there are in these examples, you want to turn any number not connected. This would be like a constant, just like a regular number. We want to turn it into a 0. And any number that is connected to our variable, we want to make it a 1. And so we tend to do this with multiplying or dividing, and we tend to do this with adding or subtracting. Okay. So if we look here, we're trying to figure out what x is. Some of you might be able to just look at it and tell what the variable is going to be. Negative 2 times something, minus 10 gives me 22. But if we're going to actually solve it, I like to draw a line to show the 2 sides of the equation. Something really important to remember about solving equations is what you do to one side of the equation, you want to make sure you do it to the other. So we're going to start with the number not connected to the x, which is a minus 10. And since it's not connected, we're going to make it 0. So it's a negative 10. So we're going to add it to both sides. And that's going to make that 32. And then negative 10 plus 10 is 0. So that just turns to 0. And all we have left on the left side is negative 2x. And then from there, the number that is connected, we want to make that number a 1. So because it's negative 2 times x, we can actually make it a 1 by dividing. So anything divided by itself is 1. And so that would be 1x equals negative 16. Or we could just say x is equal to negative 16 for that one. Now you can check it. You can just do negative 2. We can plug this part right here. We can plug it back in up here. So we would do negative 2 times negative 16 minus 10. And to see if we get 22. And so this would be 32 minus 10, which is 22. So it checks out. So you can always kind of go back and check your answers on any equation question. All right, but for our answer for that one, it would just be negative 16. So for this one, we're going to start with a negative 3 because it's not connected. It's a negative, and since it's not connected, we're going to make it 0. So we're going to add 3 on both sides. And then from there, it's x over 10, or you can think of it as 1/10 x. So to get rid of it, if it's in the denominator, we can multiply it by 10 over 1. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. And again, what you do to one side, you want to do to the other. So 10 over 1x, 10 over 1 times x over 10 would be, when we multiply fractions together, we multiply the numerators together. So 3 times 1 and then 2 times 5 to get our our multiplication of our fraction. So it works the same way when you have variables. So 10 times x, which would be 10x, 1 times 10, which is 10. We can do the same thing with this one. That's just going to be 180 over 1. And then again, 10 divided by 10 is 1. So for this one, we get 180. All right. This is still, oh, we have like 2 more short ones. Okay. So for this one here, 7/8 x equals 49. We're still going to multiply by the reciprocal. And the reason that we do that is because when you have fractions, coefficients, we want to make them a 1. The easiest way to make it turn into a 1 is to multiply by the reciprocal. So anytime you have a fraction coefficient, if you multiply by the reciprocal, this is going to get us 56 over 56, which is just 1. So it simplifies it right out and gets rid of our fraction. So we get 1x, or just x, equals, and then 49 times 8/7. You can use, let me see if I can yank it up. You can use your calculator for this. If you don't remember your fraction rules, I'll show you, but you can also just work it out by hand. It's a pretty easy one to do. So this would be 56. If you want to work it out by hand, you just are going to either multiply across, so 49 times 8 over 1 times 7, or you can actually, for this one, cross simplify. And so both of those numbers are divisible by 7. And then that would just be, then you would multiply across 7 times 8, which is 56, and then 1 times 1, which is that. Either way, you get 56. So you can use your calculator if you don't feel comfortable with your fraction skills, but it's always good to kind of review fraction skills over. All right, last two. So for this one here, the 8 is not connected to the x, so we're going to zero it out. It's positive, so we're going to subtract it. That will give me 0. And then be careful because there's actually a negative x left on the left side, equals 10. And then we have to divide by -1 on both sides. So if you get a negative x or a negative y, you need to get rid of that negative sign. So that way you figure out what positive x is. So x in this case would be -10. And again, these should have been things that you did last year, even these trickier ones. But today's practice is all going to be reviewing those skills. So you can check it. You can do 8 minus -10, which is 18. So that checks out. You can always plug them back in to see what the answers are. And the very last one is x minus 7 over 2. Or the difference, like from last unit, difference of a number and 7 divided by 2. So equals 10. So for this one, because it's the 2 is actually trapping the x minus 7. And you can even think of this x over 2 minus 7 over 2, because you can look at it that way as well. So it's actually holding the x minus 7 in the numerator. In this case, you want to go ahead and multiply by 2 on both sides. And what that's going to do is it's going to go 2 over 2, which just turns into a 1. And then 10 times 2, which is 20. And then all you have left is the numerator on the left side. So x minus 7 equals 20. And then we're going to add 7 to both sides to get 27. Okay, so make sure you get all these written down. You're actually going to go up to the boards after this and, oh, it's like over my face. There you go. You're actually going to go up to the boards after this and work out the problems, and you're going to take a picture in your formative of your board work. So make sure you put your names on the top of the board so that I can see it, and that you take a picture, and then it's going to be like CYU, just like normal, and then mass space of time, no exit ticket today. Okay? And these need to go in your notes, so when I come back, I should be able to see them, and they should be filled out. All right, I hope you're doing okay.